the people who dreamt the dream, as it were, and your book starts with a dream. What were they thinking? How did they come about it? And who were they?
So the key driver really is Jules Rimet, who I would say was by some margin the best president FIFA ever had, both from a political point of view and from a moral point of view. I sort of get the impression that if I'd met him, I'd have found him quite boring and earnest. But he had this great sense of football could be a great tool of social elevation, of bringing fraternity among nations. So he was a very devout Catholic, and he was very heavily influenced by Leo XIII, his papal encyclical Rerum Novarum of 1891, which talks about the terrible state of the working classes through Europe and says, how can we sort of elevate them from penury, from drudgery, from the terrible housing they live in, the terrible diet. And one of the aspects that this encyclical suggests is organized sport is really good for health. And Gilles Rimet is really fired by this. I mean, he was from a pretty ordinary background. His grandfather was a miller in sort of rural East France. His father had to move to Paris to find an industrial job. So Rimet's brought up by his grandfather. He follows his father to Paris when he's 11, and he commits to his education very seriously. And he'd probably have been a provincial solicitor in the rural east of France had he not developed this love of football. So he sets up his own club in Paris, Red Star. And the idea there is we remove class distinctions. We don't talk about politics, and everybody in my club is the same. Now, you can say that's very idealistic, but that is the vision he took into football. And one of the things Rimet was very opposed to was amateurism. And he said, amateurism means that only the wealthy can play. And this, of course, you alluded to the British nations not playing at the first World Cup. There were many reasons for that, but the reason they were not a member of FIFA at that point is they'd fallen out with FIFA over definitions of amateurism relating to the Olympic football in 24 and 28. That the British felt pure amateurism meant you could not be recompensed for time taken off work, whereas most other countries went, well, if you're taking a month off work, we probably should give you a month's wages in lieu. So that's why the British aren't a member of FIFA at the time. But Rimet realizes actually there is a bit of a problem because the Olympics is amateur. I think if you look at the Uruguay side that wins in 1924, you're stretching a definition of amateur quite a long way. And there's some slightly sarcastic comments after the final where they beat Switzerland, where Switzerland are praised for being you're representing the true amateur ideal. And I think it's pretty obvious what they're talking about there. But it is a problem for football that you've had the British nations have been professional for a long time. You've had Austria, Hungary, the US have begun to professionalize in the 20s. Argentina professionalized in 31, Uruguay in 32. Professionalism is coming to the world game. And that means that those players, the best players in the world, shouldn't really be playing in the Olympics. Therefore, we need a World Cup to accommodate them. So that's why it comes about.
This is what a lot of people don't understand, that the World Cup comes out of the Olympics, comes out of the Olympic football tournament. When Uruguay won it in 24, it's fucking unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. What the contemporary writers were saying about them. It's everything that you saw later, people talking about Brazil 70. It's all in that Uruguayan team. So there has to be a tournament that's open for everyone. That's open for amateurs, professionals, everyone. There has to be. And that all comes out of the Olympic football tournament. Because the Olympic football tournament in 24, it's just a mass success.
Oh, mass huge. Success. So a third of all the revenue taken at that Olympics came from the football. So that's how big it is. It's dwarfing everything else. So actually the Olympics are not sorry to see the back of football. I think they feel it's unbalancing everything. So in both 24 and 28, the football happens significantly before the rest of the Olympics. It happens in the month before, which is partly to fit in with seasons, but it's partly because just to accommodate it, you can't accommodate football and all the other sports, so you have to separate them out. So there's always been this de facto separation anyway in 24 and 28, which 1930 then sort of reifies.